All right, everyone. This is Brian Smith with Jason Hamby. Going to be talking a little SEC football for this upcoming weekend. Going to preview the Arkansas at Georgia game. Going to talk a little Ole Miss and Alabama, and also touch upon one game from last weekend that we still don't really understand very well. Arkansas also involved with that one with A&M. So, Jason, good to have you on. Let's talk some football here. To kick off, your favorite team, the Georgia Bulldogs, going to be hosting the Razorbacks. What can you tell me about Arkansas going into this matchup?
Arkansas is a solid bunch. They're not going to give a game away. They're going to keep the ball on the ground and control the clock. They play a similar brand of football as Georgia. They're not going to throw the ball all over the field. They're depending on the defense and the run game, and they do it well. It's just a matter of if they can do it as well as Georgia, and I don't think they will be able to this Saturday. They do feature a running quarterback, KJ Jefferson. Doesn't throw the ball a whole lot, like 15 passing attempts a game, but he completes them. And he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry versus 8 top 25 teams, Texas and A&M. That is averaging 7 on the ground against for the year. And that's not something Georgia has faced yet this year. But they have their linebackers and the speed all across the defense for exactly that type of quarterback and run game. Arkansas is probably going to run it upwards of 35 times in this game, as long as they don't get down early. If they have the game script that they want to play in. Georgia, 17, Nakobe Dean, 41, Channing Tindall. These guys fly around the field. They can keep up with any running back as long as they have an angle. So that'll be the big goal for Arkansas, is to be able to run on us, and I don't see that happening especially at the clip that they've been able to do it so far against A&M and Texas and the other two non-Power 5 teams that they've played. But you got to give Arkansas credit. They're very well coached. Sam Pittman, our offensive line coach of last year and a couple years before, so they know exactly what we're going to do. There's no hiding it. Sam Pittman has all the inside information that you could possibly want. So it's going to be a test. I think this will be a close game at half, and I think the Dogs will pull away in the second half.
What do you think that Arkansas is going to do with Treylon Burks, their star receiver? The second receiver in terms of receptions has 7. He's got 19. Yeah. It's obvious he's the leading guy. Big dude, 6'3", 225. You think Georgia's going to put one guy on him? Do you think they're going to mix it up? What do you think the plan will be with him?
It's interesting because he had the big catch against A&M, the 85-yarder that he just ran right past A&M's defender, and that was a huge play in that game. It's because Georgia's going to want to put as many in the box as possible because of Arkansas's run game. So I'm not sure we'll have 2 guys on him. I think that's the way you got to beat Georgia is throwing the ball. You have to beat them because if there's anywhere we're a little bit weak, we're young in the secondary, especially at the corner position. With the only experienced guy we have is Darian Kendrick, the guy from Clemson, and the guy who starts opposite him is a true freshman. I mean, he was the number 1 cornerback coming out of high school, Keely Ringo, but he's a true freshman. So it'll be Kendrick on Burks, and we might throw. I don't think we'll go single high safety throughout the game, but we might. I wouldn't be surprised if they're having success early on the ground to just dare them to throw it deep.
What about Georgia up front? Everybody's good to go. Everybody's healthy and all that. Do you think they're just going to play it straight up otherwise? I mean, obviously their front is very talented. It's not like they need a lot of help.
Everybody's healthy, and I'm expecting 99 Jordan Davis to have a big game, as he always does. The guy's a beast. It's insane how fast he can move and how well he moves for his size. And I think he will be a top 16. Like, he'll be in the top half of the first round as long as he stays healthy. And we got Darnell Washington back. He's the 6'8" tight end who was one of the top tight ends in that class. He's fully healthy back for this one, as is slot receiver Karis Jackson, who's kind of just been in and out on special teams, not ready enough to go. So I think we'll throw the ball a little bit more than we have, and I think this is a good opportunity for JT Daniels to show out and prove that he's the best quarterback in the SEC, if that's what he believes that he is.
Well, he's got to have a chance to do it against a defense that, as you noted, very well coached. Sam Pittman has a good staff. Barry Odom's their defense coordinator. He was at Missouri as the head coach. Very good coach. Can Georgia be patient enough? Because Arkansas is not going to just line up and come after them. They're going to be a very conservative zone defense. They kind of play like Iowa does out of the Big Ten. Make you earn every yard. If you make errors, they'll beat you up for it and take the ball away. So I think that's about the only way they're going to win. But like you, I think Georgia will pull away in the second half. I've got Georgia 31-17. I think Arkansas will be a game team, but I just don't think they have enough depth. And if they don't have anybody opposite of Treylon, that's probably going to scare anybody on the Georgia defensive staff. So that's a problem. I got Georgia winning by 2 touchdowns. What about you?
Yeah, I have us winning by 2 touchdowns as well. The spread on this one's 18.5, which was a little bit surprising, but I guess Vegas doesn't think Arkansas is as for real as they might be. This is a solid team. Like we've talked about a lot, they're going to lose a couple games because they're in the SEC West, toughest division in college football. But I do have the Dogs by 2 touchdowns, 34-20, or 34-20, excuse me.
All right, there you go. The other SEC game that you and I have been talking about a little bit this week, Ole Miss plays Alabama. And, I mean, there's a lot of storylines there. Of course, Lane Kiffin, the head coach at Ole Miss, was with Nick Saban at one point. At one point, he was at Tennessee and coached against him, et cetera. There's a lot of history there. And he has a phenomenal offense right now. Might be the best in the country. He also has possibly the best quarterback, best player statistically in the country. Yeah. Ole Miss at Alabama. Is there any chance that Alabama slips up and gets their first loss of the season?
I think it would be naive to say that there's no chance. We got to go back to last year, how much of a shootout that was. It was a one-score game for the majority of the game. From everything that I've seen and everything I've been told about Ole Miss is that their defense is much improved from last year. They haven't really played a good offense yet this season. So that'll be very telling against Bama's offense. I think, like you said, Ole Miss's offense might be the most electric in the country, but they are missing Elijah Moore, who graduated. He was their best receiver last year. So I'm not sure. I know they got Drummond, who's got 20 catches already. He's got four touchdowns. He's a great player. It'll be interesting to see if they have anybody to help him out and help Corral out. But I think this is definitely going to be a close game. In Ole Miss, it has to be a shootout for them to win, just like it was last year. If they're struggling on offense, I think Bama will run away with it. They got to go score for score with Bama. And I'll be interesting to see Bryce Young. I mean, yes, he got off to a great start against Florida, but they only scored 10 points in 3 quarters for the rest of that game. They were up 21-3 first quarter. Then they only scored 10 points. And he didn't play phenomenal in the second half by any means. He kind of just thrown into a game manager role. They didn't really take any shots. In this game, he's not going to be able to game manage. If Ole Miss is going to put up points, and they're going to have to answer. So I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be it might be the best game of the weekend.
I think that's a pretty good point. Here's something interesting. Ole Miss uses several different running backs in their system. They run a spread. They rotate guys. Connor is their power back, and he's a junior, 22 carries, 125 yards, averages 5.7. He's got 3 touchdowns. If they can score in the red zone against Alabama's big lines, a lot like Georgia's, same defense basically, that will be key. You're not going to just score 30 and 40-yard touchdowns and farther. Eventually, you're going to have to put points on the board once you get into the red zone against Nick Saban's defense. Good luck. It's hard. Yeah. That will be the tale for me. Henry Parrish, a smaller running back out of the Miami area, scat back, and Jerrion Ely. Those 2 guys are very talented. They're going to have to win one-on-one matchups outside, catching the ball too. Those are things that they will try and force Alabama into awkward situations. It's the one thing that Alabama has struggled with is linebackers and coverage for a decade. Why would you change your game plan against him? I mean, he's had his number in terms of taking on Nick's defense. That's the one thing. He just doesn't have as many players. He just doesn't on defense. So he's going to have to definitely win those battles. But I'm just going to pick Alabama to win. I still have them winning. I got them 41-38. I think it'll be a close game. And it's just one of those deals. Nick just doesn't do well against that guy in terms of that one matchup. I think that the rosters are farther apart, but Nick Saban doesn't do very well against Lane Kiffin's offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very similar score. I think what's interesting also is that between both quarterbacks, they have one interception. Corral hasn't thrown one yet, and that
I
was the
know.
biggest thing with him last year. Is he had all the talent, but man, he threw 6 interceptions in a game. 6.
Arkansas. Yeah,
I
no, that's
mean,
terrible. That's
and
terrible.
and going into the season, it was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, we might have the most talented quarterback, but he just sometimes throws the ball all over. Okay, well,
Yeah.
this year, again, he hasn't faced a great defense, so that'll be the biggest thing. If Corral can keep control of the ball and move it down the field, then Ole Miss will be right there. If he turns the ball over, you can't turn the ball over against Bama. I mean, we've seen that how many times for how
Yeah.
many straight years. If you turn the ball over against Bama, it's over. Um, so I think it's going to be tied in the fourth. Midway through the fourth, Corral will throw a late pick, and Bama will pull ahead by a touchdown. I'm going to go 45-38.
Okay. So we got very similar scores there. Well,
The over-under is 80. So, I mean, everybody is assuming this is going to be a shootout, just like last year.
well, Nick Saban's talked about you have to score now. For a guy that is as defensive minded as Nick Saban to say that publicly and unsolicited, that kind of puts things in perspective.
And I'm hoping that Kirby Smart will kind of get on that because Nick Saban has transitioned. We saw it last year with how much they threw the ball with
Okay.
Mac and all. And Georgia's kind of like the last team in the SEC to kind of, I mean, we're still trying to ground and pound teams, and it works. But we've seen it against Bama. They've been the better passing team for the last 3 years because they've adapted, and we're getting behind in games and not able to just put up points because we're still trying to run the ball. And when we get ahead, it's great because we'll just grind it to death and break big runs. But when we're behind, so I'm excited. I think we have a quarterback to do it finally, and I'm hoping that I know Kirby is not an offensive guy, but Nick Saban did it, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Kirby will do it.
That's true. I mean, Kirby might be more stubborn than Nick, which is saying something. But that's a podcast of its own, maybe a daily one. Um, the last thing I want to mention is something you brought up to me before we came on the show. Arkansas last week beat Texas A&M, and I don't even have the numbers up in front of me. But the more I think about it, I'm not sure I want to. Texas A&M, I mean, it's bad. He scored 10 points against Arkansas. Again, Barry Odom's a very good defense coordinator. Arkansas is a good football team. About as well coached on defense as you're going to find in the SEC, Alabama or Georgia included. Being stated as such, for a team with Isaiah Spiller in the backfield, an offensive line that's got a lot of 4 and 5 star kind of players, and good skill talent just in general, for them to score 10, and I know Haynes King is not playing. Calzada, I think that's how you pronounce his name, was the quarterback, but he's just not very good. Something has to change for A&M. I'm angry about that game because I had A&M as possibly making it into the playoff. They're going to be lucky to go 7-5 based on the way they played against Arkansas. Now, all things considered, it's a long season.
Mm-hmm.
But if Arkansas can do that to them, what's Auburn or Alabama going to do? What's Ole Miss going to do? If you score 10 against Arkansas, you're not going to score with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Not happening. This could be a very big moment for A&M because everybody thought, okay, they're about to get over the hump. They're about to get over the hump. And again, Haynes King out hurts. But you can't be that quarterback dependent either. That's on the head coach. And they paid him $75 million. So something's got to give. This is very interesting. I'm just curious what you think. I'm not an A&M guy, but I mean, I'm realistic. You don't pay somebody that much money and watch him just fall on his face. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was A&M was horrible all game. I mean, and we don't know whether it's on. I mean, some of it is on Jimbo, some of it is on Calzada. He was like 20 of 36 for 150 and a pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously not characteristic of any quarterback that's under Jimbo. He's the quarterback guru or whatever. So it'll be a test. Is Jimbo worth that money? Okay, if he is, then he'll turn this thing around with this guy with no experience. If he's not, then they're going to go 6-4, 7-5, and they still got a gauntlet, and they play Mississippi State this week. Which, by the way, Mississippi State is a very bad football team. They need to like put it to them. This game doesn't need to be close. If this game is close, that's going to be even more telling than this 10-point. I mean, you scored one offensive touchdown against Arkansas, and like you said, Arkansas has a very stable, a very good defense, but and Jalen Weidemeyer, best tight end in the country going into the season, one catch. Now, is that on Calzada or is that on Jimbo not I mean, you got to
You
get
got
the
to
ball.
run screens or do something to get him the
You
ball.
got to get the ball in the guy's hands. He's like he's an unbelievable athlete. He's gonna make guys miss. He's got 1 catch on 2 targets. That's not gonna get it done. And like we talked about, Calzada, he had a lot of easy throws that he just missed. So I feel like Jimbo's hands were tied. He was trying to, give the guy just anything, and he wasn't able to do it. I forgot what his average yards per attempt were, but it was not.
I won't look it up. It's
5.
bad.
I think
won't look it up.
5, or it might have even been 5 per completion.
Yeah,
which is historically bad. So we'll see. Hopefully Jimbo with another week. I'm not sure how much time he had with, Haynes King kind of went out in that week 3 game. I'm not sure how much time he had to kind of get Calzada prepped for, a good defense. But if Calzada struggles again against Moose State, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And
well, if you lose to them, who do you beat? That's what that's the deal. The SEC West is strong.
Then you go 5-7
at best.
Mississippi State is horrible.
Yeah, they've got a really good quarterback, but they find ways to just shoot themselves in the foot all over the place and lose close games. So that's their MO as a program historically, anyway. So if you lose to them, are you going to beat Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, or Alabama? Probably not. Probably not. So, of course, LSU is a lot like A&M too. We don't know what's going on there, but LSU has a really good quarterback. They can score, and that's something that A&M does not have right now. That's pretty obvious. So, Max Johnson's a good football player for the Tigers. So, well, that's going to wrap it up. We're going to talk some SEC football each week, kind of previewing a couple of games, putting it up on Inside the Nights just because it's fun to talk SEC football too. Like talking about a lot of different games around the country. So, Jason, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. We will do this again next week, and I'm sure there'll be something we can talk about from this weekend's games in the next episode as well. So, everybody have a great evening. Thank you very much.